Fantastic friends of IELTS Daily. It is Chris, and we have a class today. It's a surprise class. We're going to do some task 1 writing. Stay tuned. Tell us in the chat where you are from. What's your target score in the IELTS test? Are you looking for a band 7, maybe a band 8? And tell us something about you. We'll have a look in the chat very soon. Hello everyone, we're going to be starting in just over 2 minutes and I'm really ready to teach you something today for IELTS Writing Task 1. I hope you're all ready too. See you soon. Who is ready and waiting? We are going to be beginning in just under 30 seconds. Hope to see you all soon. It is time to begin. We have a wonderful writing class and my name is Chris from IELTS Daily. I'm sure you've all seen me before. It is great to have you back on the channel. We are going to look at writing task 1 today and I think I'm going to be making the first ever video of this kind ever. I don't think I've ever seen this video before. We are going to be doing one writing task 1 academic and one writing task 1 general, all in this video. If you are here for the general training task, you just need to wait a little bit, and if you're watching this after, you can click the button below which will take you directly to the middle part of this video when we're going to be looking at general training. We're going to start with the academic task 1, which will be looking at a bar graph, and many people have difficulties with this. Do you have any difficulties with bar graphs? Let's see what or who is in the class today, and if I bring the class up here, we will see that we've got so many people coming, and it's really nice to see you all coming out today. Thanks for being part. Hello to Amala. Amala is one of our registered paid members. So good to see you there, Amala. Do we have any other paid members in today? We've got Anna. Anna is one of our super writers. She's a complete superstar member today. Hello to Palmu. Nice to see you. Palmu is also a member. Really good to have you all on board. Hello to Celine. Thank you so much. I don't know about hilarious, Celine. Celine says that I am hilarious. I'm not sure that the word hilarious would come to mind when describing me. I do have a lot of very bad jokes, but I don't think they're particularly hilarious. Anyway, good to see you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's start by looking at task 1. We're going to look at the academic in the first part of this video and general training in the second part. If you like this video, if you learn something from it, please just give this video a like. It helps enormously. Thank you so much. Let's begin and let's talk about the task 1 that you will see on the screen now. This is a bar chart, and you will have a look at the question, which says the chart provides the results of a survey conducted on 100 people, 50 men and 50 women, about their favourite kind of movie. And I posted a sample answer to this a few weeks ago, and there's an opportunity to see that sample answer But today I'm going to write a completely new answer. I don't remember the sample answer that I wrote before, but we're going to do a completely new one today, and hopefully that will give you some food for thought. It'll give you some ideas. If you learn something, don't forget, give this video a like. Let's continue and look at the graph. It says, summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Really, really important. Lots of people were asking me about making comparisons. You have to make them where relevant. You don't just make comparisons when you want to make comparisons. Keeping it simple is better in IELTS academic task 1 than making your sentences really, really complicated. So let's just keep it simple. The graph says the popularity of movie genres by gender, and there are 5 genres. Genre is a difficult word to pronounce. It's a French word. So we've got action, comedy, romance, animated, and thriller. And then we have men in yellow and women in green. Okay. Now, the first thing that we should always do when we're doing writing tasks is to set a timer. We are going to have a limited amount of time to do this. So I will open up my stopwatch and I'll put it on the screen. That will give you an idea of how much time we are going to have in the test. Because remember, it's always a good idea to do things under exam conditions. So let me just do this now for you. It takes 2 seconds. I want to have a timer on the screen. Where are we? Give me a second. Wonderful. I'm going to show you the timer now, and hopefully, oh, I don't see it. Give me a second. Let me fix this for you. I might have to come back and do something later. I'll set the timer on my computer and I will show it to you. The time starts now. We're going to do 20 minutes. 20 minutes is the amount of time that we have in the test. So the first thing that we should always do is to look for any trends. The first thing we should always do is to look for any trends, and that will form part of our overview. We need to have a good, clear overview. So the first thing that I notice is that men are higher in action, lower in comedy, lower in romance, higher in animated, and lower in thriller. Okay, so the other thing that I notice is that comedy, romance, animated, and thriller for women are all similar levels, and the action is the least chosen or popular movie genre. Now, in this case, we could say that, let's say in the test, the thing that I notice is that women tend to like comedies, romance, animated, and thriller. There's more equal distribution among those, and the action is much less, and that men have a much wider kind of choice of like things which are popular. The idea that kind of the spread of popularity, that was a really difficult way for me to say it there. The spread of popularity is much wider in men than women. So that's the bar chart. What I might do actually is bring up, while we are here, one of the other samples that I had, because I'm just thinking, lots of you were asking if we could do a different type, and I might just bring that up now. And it could be an idea for us to take a look at a different type of bar chart, because if I remember, we may have already looked at this one. Just give me a second and I'll make sure that we don't repeat any of this, because sometimes I forget what we've already done and what we haven't. 2 seconds. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's see. Bar chart. I want to make sure that you have the best opportunity to pass the first time. That's really the reason why I do this, is to make sure that you have good opportunity to pass the first time. Okay, let's have a look at this other one that I have here. Just bringing it up now for you to see. Bear with me for 1 second. Talk amongst yourself, guys. Sorry. One of the hardest things about being a teacher is to make sure that all of the resources that I have available are ready and at hand, and in this case it just wasn't quite there. So let me just show you this one now. This is probably another one that we may want to look at, because you will see that this is a bar chart which has two things as part of it. So it's got a line graph and it's got a bar chart, and this is maybe something that we should look at in class today. So I'm going to stop the stopwatch and we're going to do a different one, because I just realized that it's something that I haven't taught you before, which is comparing the two types of information. So let me put this in the middle. Here we go. Right, we're ready. Let's start the timer again, and let me go again. So you will see that on the screen there is a bar chart which says the world total population, and a red line which is the world urban population, and the blue line is the world rural population. What do we notice about this one? We can see that on the title of the graph, it says the graph below shows the total world population as well as the populations of urban and regional areas. So what we should do is look at the trend. In this case, we've got a red line going up faster than the blue line. The blue line is also going up, and the green line is rising year by year. So if we start at 1950, hopefully you can see that on the screen, 1950, and then we have the green line, which is 2030, reaching right at the top. Let me show you that here. Let me put an arrow so it goes all the way up here. We've got the green line reaching 2030 here, and it starts at 1950 here. We've got a red line, which is the world urban population, that goes up to here. And we have the blue line, which is the world rural population, which goes to here. So we can see that overall the things which happen, and this is for our overview, it's quite important. There are three things which happen. The overall world, or we can say global population. The global population increases over time. So I will make that bigger here. Oops. We can see that the global population increases. Then we have the red line, which is the urban population, which also increases, and it increases at a faster rate than the blue line. And the world rural population, or we can say global population or rural population, also increases, but at a slower rate than the urban population, and that's pretty obvious from the text. So what we need to do as part of our overview, it's quite important that we summarize this in the best way possible. So I'm not going to focus on my introduction first of all. Our introduction is going to come very shortly. I'm going to do my overview. Okay, so my introduction we're going to do in a second, and I'm going to start my overview with the word overall, and I can say overall the global population has increased over the past 60-70 years, because we're starting in 1950, and it's 70 years since 1950, and is expected to continue increasing to 2030. Okay, so this is really, really important. I just want to note this in the exam. When you have times which show the past and the future, you have to include and talk about both. It's super, super, super important that you cover both. So let me show you that in the test, we've got 1950 here. We've also got 2030, which is in the future. So effectively, this last portion here is the future. It's expected to increase. Yeah. The urban population has continued to increase over the period, and the rural population has shown a leveling off, you could say, has shown to has increased until but is expected to remain stable over the next 10 years. Now let me just show you that on the screen. So we've got the urban population has continued to increase over the period. We can see that because it goes all the way up here, all the way. Now the blue line, which is the rural population, it has increased to around today, but it's expected maybe even to slightly decrease at the end, but is expected to decrease slightly over the next 10 years. Okay. Now, what we shouldn't do is too much emphasis on details in our overview. Okay. I'm worried a little bit here that my overview might just be a little bit long. Okay. I'm just concerned, and this is something that you should consider in the test. You don't need to write an overview which is massively long. So I would say make sure that your overview is succinct and that you only focus on the general idea. So the most general thing here is that your world population has increased, the urban population has increased significantly, and the rural population has increased, but it's starting to level off. It's starting to, or even possibly just to decline in the last part. And that really is the overall trend that you need to focus on. I'm worried that maybe this is just a little bit too long, so I might come and edit it a little bit later. So I'm just going to make that a bit smaller so that I can fit more things on the screen. Now, the next thing that I want to do is think about my introduction. I'm going to go back to my introduction because the introduction should be the easiest thing. It says the graphs below show the total world population as well as the populations of the urban and regional areas. We've been going for 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So my introduction, it should be the bar graph, and we've got here shows, so I can say the bar graph provides information on the total global population, and the line graphs show the regional, show the differences between the urban and rural populations. Let's see if we've got the word population twice. Let's have a look at that again. The bar graph provides information on the total global population. So we've changed the word world to the word global. And the line graphs, plural, show the differences between the urban and rural. We could even say distribution of people, so of citizens, possibly. So we're showing that the green line is the bar graph, and the red lines, we might come back and edit that slightly. What you do need to do in your task 1 is paraphrase. The title says the graph below shows the total world population as well as the populations of urban and regional areas. So it generally summarizes it. I may change the word urban and rural. I haven't decided yet. Now, what am I going to say about the green line? In terms of the total population of the world, now you see what I'm doing here. This is a technique that allows me to summarize my paragraph. I've said in terms of the population of the world, and this paragraph is only going to focus on the population of the globe, first of all. So if I say in terms of the total population of the world, And I should go back here and say in the years. So I think I've missed the years there. I'd like to include that in my introduction. In 1950, the global population stood at, and populations can stand at, stood at just at around 2.5 billion people. So I'm talking over here, which is my I'm talking about here. Okay, so in 1950 it stood at 2.5 billion. The population just increased over the period. It didn't stop increasing, and we should go up to today. Okay, today it was around 7.5 billion. So it's 2020. So we can say stood around 2.5 billion people. This has increased steadily over the period. Oops, my typing is terrible today. Over the period, and reached 7.5 billion in 2020. Okay. This number is expected to continue increasing for the next 10 years, reaching a peak of over 8 billion in 2030. And we really have to differentiate the future here. Let's go through and read it again carefully. In terms of the total population of the world, in 1950, the global population stood at around 2.5 billion people. This has increased, and I've used the present perfect tense here because I'm linking it to today, which is almost 2020. So we're in the same period. So 2020, 2021 is around today. So this has increased steadily over the period and reached 7.5 billion in 2020. This number, I don't want to repeat the word this too much. The figure, we could even say, the figure is expected to continue increasing for the next 10 years, reaching a peak of over 8 billion in 2030. So this is an example of subordination. So we're using different grammatical forms here. We're now at 11 minutes 33, and we've got a couple of paragraphs to go. I'm going to write, in this case, I'm going to do 5 paragraphs in total. I'm going to do my introduction, I'm going to do an overview, I'm going to do a paragraph about the world population, and I'm going to do a paragraph about the urban population, and I'm going to do a paragraph about the rural population. Let's have a look and go back. You could make this a bit smaller so that we can fit it all on one page. Now let's see. My picture has gone a bit crazy. Bear with me. My word has gone crazy. What has happened here? Okay, there we go. I was having a bad day there. The bar graph provides information on the total global population, and the line graphs show the difference between the urban and rural distribution of people between 1950 and 2020, and predicts and show between 1950 and 2030. Let's do that. I just want to highlight the fact that it's in the future. We need to show that to the examiner, that you are thinking about the future. We have got 6.5 minutes left, which is great. Now I can say turning to the, and we'll show the rural population, turning to the urban population. This has shown a dramatic a dramatic increase over the period, starting at, and I'm going to have a look at the graph, and it says starting at, the red line starts at just under 1 billion and is expected to reach 4.5 billion, maybe 5 billion in 2030. Starting at starting at just under 1 billion in 1950, and is expected and is predicted. We've already said expected, and is predicted to reach how many? 5 billion in 2030. So we're summarizing the information there. Let's have a look at this. It says, turning to the urban population, this has shown a dramatic increase over the period, starting at just under 1 billion in 1950 and is predicted to reach 5 billion in 2030. The rural population, on the other hand, has shown a much more steady increase and is actually anticipated to level off and possibly decline in the last 15 years of the graph. So between 2015 and 2030, it's actually expected to level off and possibly go down. So between 2015 and 2030, it's possibly expected to go down and possibly decline to where did it start? It started at just under 2 and is expected to decline to just under 3. So it's only increased by a little bit. So the rural population on the other hand has shown a much more steady increase and is actually anticipated to level off and possibly decline, starting at 2 billion in 1950 and only reaching 3 billion in 2030. Now let's see if that information is correct. We always have to get the information correct. So it's starting at just under 2 billion there. Starting at just under 2 billion in 1950 and only reaching 3 billion in 2030. We have got 3.5 minutes left. Let's have a look together at whether we have covered everything in the task. This is a hard one today. The bar graph provides information on the total global population, and the line graphs show the differences between the urban and rural distribution of people between 1950 and 2030. Overall, the global population has increased over the past 70 years and is expected to continue increasing to 2030. The urban population has continued to increase. Has continued to rise over the period, and the rural population has gone up. I don't like the repetition of increase. Has gone up, but is expected to decrease slightly over the next 10 years. In terms of the total population of the world, the 1950 global population stood at around 2.5 billion people. This figure, this has increased steadily over the period and reached 7.5 billion in 2020. The figure is expected to continue rising because we've got the word increased before for the next 10 years, reaching a peak of over 8 billion in 2030. Is that correct? So it's gone up from here and is expected to reach the green line, So it's gone over just 2.5 billion and it's going to reach a peak of 8 billion. That's correct there. Turning to the urban population, this has shown a dramatic growth over the period, starting at, we've got the word over the period, over the years, starting at just under 1 billion in 1950 and is predicted to reach 5 billion in 2030. Is that right? Just under 1 and it's going to reach 5 billion in 2030. That's correct. It's really, 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 really important that you get your facts correct. I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to get your facts correct. Let me go and check the last paragraph. The last paragraph says, the rural population, on the other hand, has shown a much more steady increase. Let's choose the word, we've got the word rise, and is actually anticipated to level off and possibly decline, starting at just anticipated to decline is better. Starting at just under 2 billion in 1950 and only reaching 3 billion in 2030. I think that summarizes everything. This was a bit of a rushed one today. There's a lot of information. We've got 20 seconds left. This was a really difficult task today because there was quite a lot of information. I'm not convinced this would be a band 9 just for today. I would have to go through and think. And there are some really important things for you guys to think when you do the test. Are you repeating ideas? Are you repeating words such as increase? And when I read through a couple of times, it was quite obvious that I repeated the word increase. So you can use words like go up, rise, grow, increase, and use them interchangeably throughout the test. Don't just use one particular one. Then the same for decrease. So it would be decrease, go down, fall. Fall is a little bit faster. So make sure that you're using it in the right context. It's very, very, very important. A bit disappointed with this one. And this just shows that when you do the test, it's not always going to be perfect. And there's probably maybe a couple of things that I might have missed. I think I'm a little bit concerned that my overview was a little bit too long. If we have a look at the text again, we will see that over the whole thing is actually, let me tell you how many words it is. It was 196, so it's okay. Let me see if I can give you my sample answer that I wrote for this one. It was much more concise. Let me give it to you now, and I hope that this will make it a little bit easier for you. Let's see. This was the sample answer that I wrote a few months ago. On the screen there, the bar graph indicates, the bar graph indicates the population of the world between 1950 and projections until 2030, while the two line graphs show the number of people living in urban and regional areas over the same period. The population of the planet has increased considerably since 1950 and is expected to continue rising. Urban and rural areas have also seen an increase in populations, but it is clear that the urban areas have witnessed the greatest increase in inhabitants. Inhabitants are people who live. Population, that's a good word. I'd forgotten that we can use that one. Between 1950 and today, the population of the globe has increased from 2.5 billion to over 7 billion. It is expected to continue rising by 2030, and we can expect to see almost 9 billion global citizens. Was it 9 billion? It's probably not 9 billion. I think that might be just slightly off. The number of people living in rural areas has risen from just under 2 billion in 1950 and has probably reached a peak today. It is very likely that the rural area population will start to decline very steadily over the next 10 years. So we're showing there that there's going to be a decline. In contrast, notice here how I have used a linking device to show that this is not the same as this. I've said in contrast. In contrast, the urban population has increased considerably. And notice here that I've got urban population and rural areas, people living in rural areas. You have to be able to use synonyms, words which mean the same but have like different words for it. It's very, very, very crucial that you do that. Otherwise, then it says there was a steady increase until 1980, after which time the figure began to rise much faster. By 2030, it is expected that over half of the world's population will live in the cities. That's an interesting one. Over half of the world's population will live in the cities. That's if you look at the graph again, you will see that over half of the population. And remember, this was something that I didn't note. You have to make comparisons where relevant. And we did make comparisons because I said that the urban population was rising faster than the rural populations. So that is a comparison. You have to make comparisons where relevant, not always. You don't always have to make comparisons. So that was a bit of a rushed task 1 today. I'm going to have a look at a task 2. So if you are an academic student, thanks for joining. We're going to continue with the general training and we have a letter to write. Okay, general training students, where are you? You've been waiting long enough and we're going to have a look at this particular task on the screen now. It is a letter to a sports centre. Okay, you are a member of a sports centre and you've noticed a problem which has not been fixed for some time. Write a letter to the manager of the gym. In your letter, tell the manager about the problem. Explain how the issue is affecting your experience at the gym and tell the manager what you would like to happen. Right, this is an interesting one. So I would say that some of the things that you could include in this would be anything that relates to the idea of a gym. So any of the services that you might have in a gym, you could feasibly include here. So let's think, which things could you have in a gym? The service could be it says something hasn't been noticed, a problem which hasn't been fixed for some time. So it could be the something about the weights, the weight machine. It could be about the windows or the air conditioning. That could be one. Air conditioning might be broken. What about the windows might not be able, not be shut, or maybe there is something which is causing, if the window should be covered with a kind of a screen and people can see in, maybe that's something that's broken. So this is an example of a formal letter. You don't know the person that you're writing to because it's a manager of a company. So this would be an example of a formal letter. Therefore, you need to start your letter with Dear Sir or Madam. Let's have a look at Dear Sir or Madam. That should be the first thing that you write. I'm going to start my stopwatch again and we're going to go from now. So Dear Sir, capital, or Madam, capital. That's all you need to do. For every time that you do a task 1, that's all you need to do. Dear Sir or Madam, capital S, capital M, comma. Dear Sir or Madam, comma. I'm writing to inform you of an issue which has been affecting my visits to the gym for the past 3 to 4 weeks. So this is the purpose of the letter. So you've got sports centre and write a letter to the manager of the gym. I'm writing to inform you of an issue, so inform you of something. So that means to tell the manager about a problem. So this is the purpose of the letter. I'm writing to inform you of an issue which has been affecting my visits to the gym for the past 3 to 4 weeks. This is a which sentence, so it's showing grammatical complexity. You need to have a wide range of grammar. Okay? I started attending your sports centre about 8 weeks ago, but for the past month I have noticed that the air conditioning in the far part of the gym has not been working properly. Okay, so let's have a look at this sentence again. A little bit of a background to the letter. I started attending your sports centre about 8 weeks ago, but for the past month I've noticed that the air conditioning in the far part of the gym has not been working properly. Okay, now you've told the manager about the problem. Okay, so that's the problem. The air conditioning has not been working. Now you need to explain how this issue is affecting your experience at the gym. Yeah? My gym sessions usually include some cardio training and, as a result, I tend to work up a sweat. And this is a great piece of language that you can say. I tend to work up a sweat. Work up a sweat means to do lots of physical activity. So when you were doing some if you were doing rowing or if you're doing running, you tend to start sweating and you work up a sweat. So remember that in the test you have to use idiomatic language which is not as common, less common vocabulary. So this might include using things like phrasal verbs or idiomatic expressions, but you have to use them correctly, and that's something that you should really bear in mind when you're writing. My gym sessions usually include some cardio training, and as a result I tend to work up a sweat. So it is unsurprising that I am not enjoying the lack of air conditioning. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is quite a complex sentence. Let's break it down and have a look at the part by part of the sentence so that you can think about whether you could do something similar. My gym sessions usually include some cardio training, and as a result I tend to work up a sweat, so it's unsurprising that I'm not enjoying the lack of air conditioning. Yeah. At the end of my sessions, I feel I am usually overheating, and this is not at all comfortable. So at the end of my sessions, I'm usually overheating and this is not at all comfortable. So you are supporting your idea that without the air conditioning, this is a big problem. And notice that I'm answering each part of the writing task in a different paragraph. And that will show that you have understood that you need to answer each part. Right, let's have a look at the next question, which is tell the manager what you would like to happen. Tell the manager what you would like to happen. I'm sure you are already aware of this problem, so I would be very grateful if you can offer me a discount for the weeks when the aircon, we can shorten that, aircon system has been broken. I do not feel that I should be paying for a service which is not complete, because when you go to the gym you kind of expect to have a good air conditioning service so that you don't get too hot. Let's see what I said there again. So I'm sure that you are already aware of this problem, so I would be very grateful, I would be thankful if you can offer me a discount for the weeks when the aircon system has been broken. That's what I want to happen. I want and this is part 3 of the question, I want a solution. I want to suggest something when the manager of the gym can think about it. So I said, I'm sure you're already aware of the problem, so I would be very grateful if you can offer me a if you can, could is probably better, if you could offer me a discount for the weeks when the aircon system has been broken. I do not feel that I should be paying for a service which is not complete. Thank you very much for your time and understanding, and I look forward to hearing from you. And you don't need to put any major details of your name or just not your full name. Thank you very much for thank you very much for the time and understanding, and I look forward to hearing from you. Yours faithfully, because this is a formal letter. Yours faithfully, comma, Pete. Okay, and there is your full letter. Let's have a look at it again. We've still got, in fact, we've only been going for 7 minutes. That shows how big a difference there is between the IELTS academic and the general training. With the general training, we can write a letter really quickly because we can use our imagination. The academic training, you have to look at all the details in the graph. So let's have a look here. I am writing to inform you of an issue which has been affecting my visits to the gym for the past 3 to 4 weeks. Which sentence is a complex sentence? I started attending your sports centre about 8 weeks ago, but for the past month, I have noticed that the air conditioning in the far part of the gym has not been working properly. So you notice that we've used a variety of different tenses. We've got started, I have noticed, and has not been working properly. So we've got the present perfect continuous. We are showing the examiner that we can use different grammatical forms. Sorry to miss the screen there. So let's have a look at that again. I started attending your sports centre about 8 weeks ago, but for the past month I've noticed that the air conditioning in the far part of the gym has not been working properly. So we've used different grammatical tenses here. My gym sessions usually include some cardio training, and as a result I tend to work up a sweat. So there is my high level language. So it is unsurprising that I'm not enjoying the lack of air conditioning. At the end of my sessions, I'm usually overheating, and this is not at all comfortable. I'm sure you are already aware of this problem, so I would be very grateful if you could offer me a discount for the weeks when the aircon system has been broken. I do not feel that I should be paying for a service which is not complete. Summary. Thank you very much for your time and understanding, and I look forward to hearing from you. Yours faithfully, Pete. So, just shows how much faster we can write a general training. They tend to be easier, but there are some things that you should not forget. You should have some complexity in your language. You should have different subordination styles. So you could have a when sentence, you could have an if sentence, you could have a which sentence, you could have a that sentence. All of those are subordination. You need to remember them when you have a go at this test. When you do the letter, please make sure that all of these 3 ideas are covered. Tell the manager about the problem. Explain how the issue is affecting your experience at the gym. In my case, the air conditioning system was making me really hot. I was overheating and it's not comfortable. How is that affecting your experience? And the final part is the following, which is tell the manager what you would like to happen. I would like them to give me a discount for the weeks. You have to show answers to all of those 3 parts of the question. Wow, we did a part 1 academic and a part 1 general, all in one video. I'll leave the link to the 2 sample answers that we wrote today so that you can download them from the IELTS Daily website. Otherwise, thanks so much for joining. It has been a pleasure seeing you today. It was a bit of a surprise class, last minute. I always love to come and chat with you. Don't forget that tomorrow we have our usual live class on Wednesday. Every single Wednesday I'm here to teach you something new, and tomorrow you may have the opportunity to come and ask a question on the student chat system. So remember that in the chat system you can come over here and you can be part of the IELTS Daily student experience. Get yourself in this box here and think of some questions if you have any. Otherwise, you can become a member of the channel. There are many members in the chat today. You have the opportunity to have your writing graded, and I'll give you a score on that, and I'll give you ideas on how you can improve. Thank you so much for joining today. Take care of yourselves. I hope you're all